Hello, this is Algebra 2, topic 7-1. We're going to be talking about domain and vertical asymptotes, specifically of rational functions. So the rational function is in the form of f of x equals some function of x divided by some function of x down here, numerator, denominator. And these are polynomials. So here's a rational function. We have x plus 3 over x plus 2. And when we graph it, it looks like this. Now, today we're going to specifically be talking about the domain. And domain is what can x be? Well, x can be negative infinity all the way up until negative 2. Picks up again here at negative 2, and x continues all the way to positive infinity. Which means that we can have all real numbers except the x values that make the denominator equal to 0. Notice here at negative 2, we don't exist. And that is because if I put negative 2 plus 2, that equals 0. And I cannot divide by 0. Okay. Not theta. Cannot divide by 0. So what makes the denominator f of x equal to 0? Well, that would be negative 2. So, if our function has a numerator that's a polynomial and a denominator that's a polynomial, and they don't have any common factors, then we will have vertical asymptotes at those zeros. So we have a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 2. Because negative 2 made it equal to 0. And this no common factors thing will come into play later. As of right now, just know that if you can't divide by 0, then it's going to probably be an asymptote. So let's go ahead and identify some asymptotes here. Just the vertical ones, not the horizontal ones. Well, here I have one at x equals 1. Here it's at x equals 0. And then on number 3, I've got two of them. I've got one over here at negative 2. And I've got another one here at a positive 3. And so we want to match the functions to our graphs just based on vertical asymptotes. Well, this one is x equals 1, so we need to find one where x cannot equal 1. Well, dividing by 1 is okay. That's going to be negative 2, that's okay. It's going to be 3, that's okay. 1 minus 1 is 0. There we go. So graph of 1 is 4 over x minus 1. And this is graph number 1. All right, for graph number 2, we can't be 0. So x would be 0. We can't divide by 0. So this is graph number 2. So we're going to say that this is x plus 1 over x. And down here, negative 2 and 3, well, negative 2 would make this equal to 0. 3 would make that equal to 0. So this is graph number 3. Easy enough, as long as you don't have the same horizontal asymptotes, you can identify the graph and match the graph there. Now here, we want to practice first stating our domain and then our vertical asymptotes. Well, our domain is basically we're saying what x cannot equal. Well, x cannot equal a negative 2, because negative 2 plus 2 equals 0. So we have vertical asymptote at x equals negative 2. Here we're going to have to factor. Well, this becomes x plus 2, x minus 2, difference of squares. And so x cannot be negative 2 or positive 2. And so we have vertical asymptotes at x equals negative 2 and x equals 2. Here our domain, well, this is just simply x times x, which is simply 0. So x cannot equal 0. So vertical asymptote at x equals 0. Down here we can factor this. I can pull x and get x plus 3. So that means we can't be 0. This means we can't be negative 3. So the vertical asymptotes at x equals 0 and x equals negative 3. All right, number 8 is getting a little bit harder to factor. All right, there's no coefficient here, so I can just go what multiplies to 3 and adds to 4. Well, that would be 3 and 1, both positive. So I can't be negative 3 or negative 1. My vertical asymptotes are at x equals 3, negative 3, and x equals negative 1. Now here, to factor, I'm going to go ahead and use the box method. So this would be 2x squared, negative 3. My sum of negative 5x, my product of negative 6x squared. Well, that would be negative 6 and a positive 1. Give me negative 5. So negative 6x and x. Well, that would be 2x times x. 2x times negative 3 gives me negative 6x. X times 1 gives me x. So we're looking at 2x plus 1 and x minus 3. Well, I know that this right here says that it can't be 3. And over here, 2x plus 1 equals 0. 2x equals negative 1. X equals negative 1/2. So I have vertical asymptotes at x equals 1/2 and x equals 3. Negative 1/2. And so that's the bulk of the notes. We do have one more quick review question that I want to go over as at the top of the next page. And it's not even labeled with the rest of the notes up in this corner. I just want to go back over how to factor this. So this is a difference of cubes. And so the cube root of 8 equals 2. The cube root of negative 1 equals negative 1. And I believe this is how we do trinomials. I'll have to double check it later. My memory isn't exact on this. Where a would be 2 and b would be negative 1. So 2x squared, and a plus b. So 8 minus 1, so 8x minus 1. So it would be 2x squared minus, that would be rather plus 8x plus 1. And again, I need to double check on this whole format, but I believe this is the answer. And like I said, I'll look over it and double check with y'all in class. Good luck on your assignment. Have a good day.